Why are you always humming?
Dave asked me that. I don't, maybe I could put it right in the middle. Okay.
Okay. Who are you?
Well, I am Gail Robbins, and my married name is now Gail Courtelyou. And I am Stephanie Lemieux's mother and Jaden Lemieux's grandmother. And he happens to be the person who is filming and interviewing me.
It says Gail Gabala on a trophy bell that's in the office. Who's Gail Gabala?
That was me. He was my second husband. And we were married for, I'm just trying to think, 10 years, I think. Is that good enough? We are no longer attacked. We remain friends.
We're no longer attacked.
Attached. Which means married.
When did you get this house?
In 1962.
This house?
Yes.
What?
No, that's it was 36 years of teaching, and then I retired and moved up here, and that's when we got the house. So I started teaching in 1962.
Why are you always humming?
Dave asked me that. I don't know. It just sort of, there's always kind of a little energy running through me. And I think that I just bring it out in a hum. If I'm really concentrating on something, I'll be humming.
That's like me when I'm just walking around with a camera. I am just making some kind of beat with my mouth, and I don't even know I'm doing it.
Yeah, right. But if someone's talking to me generally during the talking, I won't be humming. But it just sort of makes me happy, helps me to feel, to be expressing my feelings. Because it's always a happy hum.
What are these little guys that you have with you?
Oh, these little guys, these are my buddies. Actually, this one is named Buddy. And I got him in Scotland. I was walking along on a little narrow walkway, and here was this little store, and I happened to glance over. The door was open, and there was a barrel sitting there with stuffed animals in it, and he was sitting up like this, looking over the edge of it, and I thought, he's so cute, and he looks so Scottish with his little curly hair, and I thought, I have to have him. So I went in and got him. And one day, Dave was walking around looking at different shops because we tended to look at different things. And so when I went back and saw him, I had Puppers up here, my buddy, and he thought I was Looney Tunes, but especially when I insisted on not putting him in the suitcase. When we carried it on the plane, I had to carry him on, and I carried him all the way home from Scotland. Scottish, Scotch-Irish and English. So that's what we did too. We went to all those countries and spent quite a bit of time and saw a lot of lovely things, and went to some castles and toured them, and And then these guys just pretty much did the trip with us. So they sit together on my couch. And they substitute for having real dogs. And I keep trying to get Dave to be enthusiastic about it, and he is partially. I can tell he would like to, but he doesn't want to have to clean up messes and take the dog for a walk. And he said, if you do all that all the time, then it's okay. But I don't want to take responsibility for the puppy all by myself. So this one's easier.
Will you travel the world?
I've traveled most places. I mean, close to it. I mean, I've been to France, Italy, Spain, Ireland, Scotland, Africa. I'm sure there are other places, but you can see that I'm pretty well traveled, and I've been to Ireland twice, actually, and a few of the places twice. Of course, I've been to Mexico, as you remember, and I have been to Hawaii, of course, several times, going on 4 or 5 times, yeah. And traveled throughout the U.S., but not to everywhere I want to go. I haven't been really back east doing much, just flying through to go overseas. But I'd kind of like to spend some time in New York and go to plays, live theater, and the Met, and see operas. But then again, probably 20 years ago, went back there and we saw 10 operas, and we were with a group. Yeah, actually, I can't remember the date exactly, and I think it was either 10 or 20 years, something like that, because yeah, it was just before I retired. That's right. Okay, and that's when the jet flew into the building in New York, and it was like 6 a.m. and I don't know how long I've been watching the news, because it was just after summer break had begun, and we had moved into an apartment because our house sold. We had it up for sale, and it sold, and so we had to stay somewhere. So we moved into an apartment until we could pick out a place up here so I could live close to my sister. And that's why we moved up here, because we both thought it was beautiful and wanted to live here. Of course, now my both sisters are gone. Very sad.
Really?
Yes, Aunt Sharon passed away 2 years ago,
God, no one ever told me.
and she'd been ill for a long time. And Aunt Linda, who is nearly 5 years younger than me, passed about a month ago, a little over a month ago. Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you, sweetheart. Mm-hmm. Yes, so that all, as my brother said, we're the only ones left of a family of 4 kids. So
Who's your brother again?
Daryl Robbins, and he lives in Colorado. And actually, he and his wife are coming to visit us the end of next month. They've been here before, but he's a year older than me, and Sharon was 2 years older, and then Linda 5 years younger. So she was the baby. So it doesn't seem possible. The oldest and the youngest are gone, and the 2 middle ones are there. Actually, Daryl and I are only like 10 months apart. Yeah.
What got you into opera?
A friend of mine, a teacher who was a first grade teacher, wonderful lady, and she used to hear me humming and singing after school. She'd walk by when I was working in my room, and she stopped in one night, and she said, one late afternoon, and she said, "You enjoy singing and music so much, why don't you come to the opera with me?" And I said, "Well, I think that'd be fun. I mean, I watch operettas on TV and have seen a few of them, but I've not gone to one in person." So she talked me into it, and her husband, who liked the symphony, he was actually a music teacher, and he liked to go to the symphony. So it relieved him. He didn't really like opera that much, and so it relieved him that I would go with her. But he would drive us up there because most of them were in San Francisco, and we lived in San Jose. So it was an hour, hour and a half, depending on the traffic, to get up there. And we just loved it. And Molly and I went to many an opera, and we also went to concerts. I don't know if you know Placido Domingo. Have you heard of that name? Very famous tenor. A number of others. Anyway, if you don't know them, it won't do me any good to tell you. But they indeed, at the Opera House in San Francisco, would have their concerts as well as having the regular opera. I think the second season I was seeing opera, I decided to get a season tickets. And my husband at that time would go with me. And back in those days, people were really dressed up to go to the opera. And since I've been here, it's not been easy to go because to see a really well-done opera, you have to go down to Seattle. And in fact, though, we've got one coming up in a few weeks that we're going to go see. So we've seen one this year, and we've got the second one coming, and I think we have a couple more. Mm-hmm. But anyways, we drive down to Seattle and we stay overnight, and usually, and then go out to a formal dinner and thing the night before the opera, and then the next day go to the opera, and usually go to the matinee so that we could drive home in the afternoon. Yeah, but we also have seen a couple over in Mount Vernon, which is very close to here. You know, it's a half-hour drive as opposed to a couple hours. Okay. I ramble on.
That's good. How was Mom as a child?
Adorable. Very active. The kids would come over. We lived in a courtyard where there were 6 houses around, and they all opened out onto the court. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think 7 kids on that court. And they'd all end up at our house. And Stephanie was kind of the instigator of, come to my house and play with my stuff, But there was a couple of them that were really Stephanie's age, which she kind of kept as friends for a long time, even after we moved. Like Julie. Julie came over. I think the first time I met her, she was 12. And she came over with your mom and would stay overnight a lot, sometimes stay for a week. And I would see to it that she was okay. She was having a hard time with her parents. But they agreed to just let her stay. They just didn't have that much connection for some reason. So anyway, she was there a whole lot, and through your mama's high school. That started in junior high, and then up and through high school. And then your mom went away to school, to college at Pacheco, and of course Julie didn't go, so I'm not sure what she was doing during that time. But she got married, and of course your mom met your dad up at college. And I can remember her, let's see, who was it? Was it her dad? Her dad visited her, and then it was either her dad or stepdad, but I think it was her dad. And didn't like your dad. Didn't think that it was a good relationship. Why, I don't know, but he just didn't. I remember when your mom and dad graduated. I guess your dad had graduated before. He's working on his master's or something. But anyway, Stephanie graduated. And he was there, and he came to the graduation, and your dad came in shorts. Shorts. I thought that was interesting. But then college kids dress that way. Anyway, he had told me that he was going to marry your mom. And I thought, whatever she wants to do. But he hadn't proposed to her yet. I don't know if he gave her a formal proposal or whether they just started seeing each other more and more and more often. But I don't think either one of them went out with anybody else after they met. I don't think, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, he still wears shorts.
Yeah, I know he wears shorts.
He wears yellow shorts.
How short are they? The short shorts?
I don't know.
Or longer? Probably longer. But anyway, yeah, he was always very casual. Okay, am I all done?
I was going to ask more, but we can be done.
Well, you can, if you've got it in mind what you want to ask away.
No, I'm just thinking of things to ask. I didn't make a pre-made list this time.
Oh, okay.
How was your childhood?
Some of it was wonderful. Some of it was kind of bad. When I was 2, my mother was pregnant with another child, and she already had 3 of us. And she was having a hard time. And actually, I think she had a miscarriage, and she couldn't take care of all the kids. And so different people were offering to take some of us just to let her have time to recuperate. And then it turned out, well, my aunt in Seattle, we were in Ellensburg, and my aunt in Seattle took me over there. I lived with her from the age of 2 till I was 7. And I loved her very much. And my Uncle Ed, I loved him very much. And that's the place that we lived in, a one-room apartment. And it had you open these doors and this bed would come out. And that's where they slept, and I slept on the couch. It would be like having the bed right over there, their bed, and I was sleeping over there. And then there was a little tiny kitchen, just about the size of my bathroom. And just a teeny tiny table in there, and we'd just sit there, but it was just the 3 of us, so they didn't have any other children. Anyway, so the part when I was living with them was wonderful, but when I went back to live at home, it happened because we were on the way, my aunt and uncle and I were on the way to California to visit my aunt's sister, another aunt of mine, of course, and my cousins on that side of the family, and we stopped and drove over from Seattle to Ellensburg, stopped in Ellensburg to say hello and goodbye for, 2 or 3 weeks that we were going to be gone. I don't remember how long. It was going to be an extended time. My mother yanked me out of the car and said she's not going anywhere, and unless you take the other kids with you too. I had my older sister Sharon, Sharon, and my brother Daryl, and then my little sister Linda. And there was no way that they could take all those children, and besides, my aunt didn't have any children, and so having one was, all she had experience with, so they had to say, no, of course not, we can't take them all. Well, then you're not taking her. And that's when I went back home. Not by choice, but because Mother went into a rage about it. She wouldn't take any of the clothes that I had that were packed. They would, anyway, so I didn't have much of anything. And then at one point, my dad and my uncle went over to Seattle and picked up the stuff that was mine, like some of my toys, and I had a buggy to put dolls in, and a tricycle, and a bunch of stuff like that. They went over and got for me, and so when I say I had some wonderful times, my dad and my aunt and uncle were very loving, and I felt really very warm inside when I was with them. And then when I was with my mother, I was scared of her because she was always hitting me. She had a chart that she put on the wall, and every time I would cry, she'd put a mark, and every time Linda, my little sister, being almost 5 years younger than me, would cry, they'd put a mark. But you know what happened? Everybody tried to make me cry, and I did. But originally I was crying because I was missing Aunt Ethel and Uncle Ed, because that's if you go live with somebody when you're 2 and stay with them until you're almost 7, you don't remember much about your parents. Anyway, so that part was not very good. But I had a lot of loving aunts and uncles my mother had 7 siblings. Two were men and the rest were women. And I had great relationships with them. And anyway, but I also had a lot of wonderful experiences along the way with different family members, and some with my mother when she was inclined. But anyway, next.
I think that's where I'm going to leave it for today.
Okay, probably talk too much about negative stuff, and that's not fun.
Sometimes the negative stuff can be the most interesting.
Well, I'm sure you're a good director.
I try my best.